it is me, it is Becca. I am going to talk to you in this video about the 3 books that I have read recently that are about relationships and marriage, and they have definitely been very impactful. The information in these books are really changing my life and changing the way that I see myself in relation to my fiance Levi. I will confess, I am a believer not just in God and Jesus and the whole everything that happens in the Bible. So also with that, I believe that there are just 2 genders. You can give me comments down below that are not very nice, or just basically don't watch. I will also point out that all of these books are written by pastors and by counselors. So these are people who basically know their Bible inside and out, which is really something that I admire. They're very good at just calling out the parts of the Bible that talk about specific topics, and they use knowing the Bible to know what God's heart is and what God means for certain situations in life. The other point I mean to say is these guys are counselors. The content of their books has actually been practiced by real people, real couples in real marriages, and they've had results from what is said in these books. So people's examples of following the ideas that are taught in these books, it really helps to put the context and the situations into mind so that you can better understand it. And I just find that hearing other people practicing this stuff and it working is just so encouraging, and encouraging just to continue reading about it. The first one I read, this is The 5 Love Languages by Garry Chapman. I'm pretty sure that the 5 love languages has now become part of modern culture, secular culture, not just in church. So most people, I would imagine, have heard that there are 5 love languages, and there are ways to express love to certain people so that they can feel it. It's as if we're different cultures with our different personalities. It's actually so strange that is the case, but some people want words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, or quality time, or physical touch. That's written there on the back. The crazy thing that we don't get taught as we grow up, with difference of personality, we require a translation so people know how you feel and that they will understand your love for them. I'm trying now to emphasize on the fact that the translation is as if the other person speaks a different language, and you have to work super hard. Sometimes it's super hard. Sometimes you have the same love language and it's fine, it's easy, it's natural for you to love them in the same way you want to be loved. But if the other person has a different love language, you have to work hard to learn their language sometimes, and you have to force yourself to speak it to them, or to act in the way that they want, so that they will feel your love. Basically, love's not easy, and it takes work just to show the other person that you love them. Sometimes when you make that effort, it doesn't feel natural because it's not the way you think that love works, but for them it makes perfect sense. So this has also got a whole lot of practical examples of how you can speak another person's love language. And so that's the main thing I got from this book, The 5 Love Languages by Garry Chapman, that people are different. Other people see the world differently. Book number 2, this was lent to me by my friend Amanda, The Meaning of Marriage by Timothy Keller and Katy Keller. This is basically a full description, explanation of what marriage is and what marriage isn't. Because there are some views that people have in the secular world that are not actually how God designed marriage to be. In itself as well, marriage was designed by God, and there's a particular way that He means for people to do it. So that's also explained in this book. And the truth is that the way God designed marriage, it can actually be applied to all cultures at all times. It doesn't matter who you are or what world you live in, you can still do marriage the way that God means for it to work and to have the rewards from it that he also designed it to have. Yeah, some of the main concepts in here. Chapter 2, the power for marriage. You have the most power in the world of anyone else to build up your spouse, to make them feel amazing, to make them feel accomplished, to encourage them and help them. Also, you have the most power to hurt them, so you do need to be careful with what you say. The mission of marriage is to grow you into the person God designed you to be. We're not perfect, and we have human fallen bodies and human natures that are corrupted with sin. So there is no way to be perfect in this life. However, having a spouse is going to severely encourage you to try to be that person. And the idea is that you try and get there as much as possible, and then at the end of time standing before God and he says, well done, you've helped each other grow and be amazing people. So that's, I think, the mission of marriage. And then there's other chapters talking about important stuff. We're going to move on to the next book. This is Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggrichs, and this is the book that I am reading at the moment and loving. I mean, again, should have known from beginning of my life and being taught how to relate to other human beings, but there is just so much missing, especially in the Hollywood design of what love is and what romance is, and totally misses out the part where guys actually, out of all things, want most to be respected. They don't necessarily want to hear "I love you," but actually they want to be respected and honored and have that kind of authority. The structure of this book, we talk about the crazy cycle. That is when women don't feel loved, they react disrespectfully, and when men don't feel respected, they aren't in the mood for being loving, and it just keeps going around and around, and that's how a lot of fights happen with relationships. So then part 2 of the book is all about first ways for guys to love their wife, and then ways for wives to respect their husband. I realized through reading a manual for how men should love their wives, actually what I want to put into words, how I am feeling and how I should better describe what it is that I desire from my spouse. So there's closeness and openness, understanding, the whole don't try and fix me, just listen and let me vent and let me spend some time talking about my feelings so I can actually work out what they are. Peacemaking and loyalty and esteem. So this describes the particular ways that women want to be loved, and actually I would 100% agree that these are great. Emerson also comes up with the energizing cycle, so if you feel loved, if a woman feels loved, she is then energized to be respectful, and if he's feeling respected, then he's feeling energized to be loving. So, they come up with some interesting concepts. If I was going to recommend just one of these books, it's got to be Love and Respect. The love she most desires and the respect he desperately needs, just because this is something that will need more practice, something that you should continue to learn to do even as you get old. This is how to interact with the other sex, and it also has practical examples of how to do the things that are not in your strength. From this book, what I've mainly learned is that men and women are totally different species, and there are so many things that I've been walking around blind to. Something that has been kind of uncomfortable for me, that he, as a man, is created to feel like he should die for me, which I think is honourable and incredible. But when I've tried to think, would I die for Levi? It's just not naturally what I feel is necessary. Yeah, so I'm going to just read the line. The biblical view is that a wife does not feel called to die for her husband as he feels called to die for her. And realizing that actually, no, I'm not supposed to feel the same. It is a quality of him as a man designed by God. For me, I have callings for other things that are not the physical strength protection kind of role. So there's many more examples in here of how men and women are different in the way that they were designed, and the way that we're supposed to use those strengths and weaknesses, some of us have and some of us don't, as men or women. We are supposed to put them together, and when two become one, you know, they become one picture of what God is. See how God loves us in return, or respects us in return, and it's just, yeah. I don't know if I said anything that made sense. Basically, read these books. Maybe if you read them, you'll pick up on other things. And we can share about it down below. If you've read these books already, any of them, let's talk about it. And I will see you in another video. Goodbye.